Today we will study about human skeleton. The human skeleton is the internal framework of the human body. It is composed of around 270 bones at birth. This total decreases to around 206 bones by adulthood, after some bones get fused together. The bone mass is the skeletal makeup about 14% of the total body weight, 10 to 11 kg of an average person, and reaches maximum mass between the age of 25 to 30 years. The human skeleton can be divided into the axial skeleton and the appendicular skeleton. The axial skeleton is formed by the vertebral column, the rib cage, the skull, and the other associated bones. The, the appendicular skeleton, which is attached to the axial skeleton, is formed by the shoulder girdle, the pelvic girdle, and the bones of the upper and the lower limbs. The human skeleton performs six major functions like support, movement, protection, production of blood cells, storage of minerals, and endocrine regulation. The human skeleton is not as sexually demographic as that of many other primitive species, but subtle differences between sexes in the morphology of the skull, dictating long bones and pelvis existence. In general, female skeletal elements tend to be smaller and less robust than corresponding male elements within a given population. The human female pelvis is also different from that of male. In order to facilitate childbirth, unlike most primitive humans, males do not have penile bone. Divisions. Axial. The axial skeleton that consists of 80 bones is formed by the vertebral column 30 to 34 bones. The number of vertebral difference from human to human has the lower two parts. Sacrum and coccyx bone may vary in length. A part of the rib cage, 12 pairs of ribs and the sternum, and the skull, 22 bones and 7 associated bones. The upright posture of the humans is maintained by the axial skeleton, which transmits the weight from the head, the trunk, and the upper extremities to down lower extremities at the hip joint. The bones of the spine and supported by many ligaments, the erector spine muscles are also supporting and are useful for balance. Appendicular skeleton. The appendicular skeleton that consists of 126 bones is formed by the pectoral girdles, the upper limbs, the pelvic girdle or pelvis, and the lower limbs. The skull. A skull or cranium is a set of bones that make up the head of a vertebra and keep in a place all body parts in the head. It supports the structures of the face and forms a protective cavity for the brain. As well as protecting the brain, the skull fixes the distance between the eyes and between the ears. This allows stereoscopic vision and helps the brain judge direction and distance of the sound. In some animals, the skull also has a defensive function. The skull is made up of number of joined or fused flat bones. In humans, the adult skull is normally made up of 28 bones. Figure of human bone. Bones of the human skull. This bone is known as frontal bone. This bone is known as orbital plate. And this is nasal bone. This is volar bone. This is ethmoid bone. This is maxilla bone. This is mandible bone. This is zygomatic bone. This is temporal bone. This is occipital bone. This is sphenoid bone, and this is parietal bone. These are the bones of skull. The skull is composed of two main parts, the neurocranium, that is brain case, and the facial skeleton. The neurocranium, which houses the brain, is made up of 8 bones that fuses together at sutures. The facial skeleton, which forms the front of the skull, includes the mandible, jaw, and the other bones. Neurocranium. Cranial wallet. The outer part of the neurocranium forms the scap, skull cap, which protects the brain. Base of the skull. The base of the skull is formed by the ethmoid, sphenoid, occipital, frontal, and temporal bones. Neurocranial bones in humans typically include the ethmoid, frontal, occipital, two parietal, sphenoid, and two temporal bones. Foramen magnum, a large opening at the base of the skull where the spinal cord passes through. Facial skeleton, mandible, the lower jaw, which is the only bone in the skull that is not fused to the rest of the skull. Maxilla, the upper jawbone. Other facial bones. The facial skeleton also includes bones like the zygomatic, that is cheekbone, nasal, lacrimal, palatal, and wormal bones, among others. Sutures. The cranium bones articulate with each other at sutures, which are immovable joints. Cranial sutures. The major cranial sutures include the coronal, sagittal, and lumboidal sutures. Additional features. Frontanillas. In a newborn, the skull bone are not fully fused and have soft spots called frontanillas, which allows for flexibility during birth. Scalp. The scalp is the soft tissue that covers the skull and contains hairs, skin, and connective tissues. Vertex. The vertex is the highest point on the head formed by the junction of the frontal, parietal, and occipital bones. Brigma and lambda, landmarks on the skull where different bones meet. Meninges, the three protective membranes surrounding the brain.